My name is Philip Colglazer.
I'm Nancy Carlson Dodd.
My name's Olivia Rang.
I'm Dory Irwin Collins.
My name is Rebecca Nelson.
I'm Angela Solly.
I saw a play, there was no action in it. I thought, boy, I can write a play this bad in the bathroom during intermission. So I went home and started to write a musical for children. I just heard the music and I would pick it out on one note. So that was the beginning of my playwriting career. A friend of mine, his friend got married to an heiress. She was very wealthy. And they were telling me the value of these gifts. Like one person would send a whole set of silver, and also in those days, the 1950s, when I was in high school and college, all the gifts were sent to the bride's home. And there the parents would display them and people would come to view the wedding gifts. Many people even hired a policeman to guard the home during the actual wedding ceremony, so because police robbers knew where all the gifts were. And so I thought, wow, how about a scam including wedding gifts? And that's where the seed first began. I bet I wrote it in 1990. I just put it away. And then when my kids were all raised, I entered a straight play is one without music, into the very first Northeastern Indiana playwriting contest that the Fort Wayne Civic sponsored, and it won. It was called The Ladies in Cabin 10. So when the playwriting contest of 2013 came along, Philip Colglazer, executive director of the Civic, called and said, "Nancy, don't you have a play to submit?" I said, "Well, I wrote a musical." He said, "We don't take musicals." So I took the music out of it, submitted it, and it won. And that was 6 years ago. And I was encouraged by 2 or 3 people in my life. They said, "You've got to put the music back in." So that's how I started. And then at one point, my collaborator, Dory, and I rented the Royal George Theatre in Chicago. We hired equity actors, and they gave a reading of it. And this is one of the steps I had no idea about. And then your friends come and see it, and they give you written reviews, what you should do better. So one of the people who came was Philip Colglazer from the Fort Wayne Civic, and he liked it, and he submitted it to the board of directors for the Civic, and they voted to premiere it.
Well, we've put together packets, scripts, with all the rehearsal schedule, with character breakdown. The score is all here, and so we put all this material together for tonight's first rehearsal. And the cast will be coming in at 6 o'clock to get their photos taken first and foremost for the program book, to have their headshots taken. And then we'll do a quick brief meeting with the scenic department to go over the scenic designs, to share the ideas, what the set's going to look like and everything. And then we'll begin a read-through and do introductions as well, and just to create a lot of excitement for the show.
Then we got a grant from the Chapman Fund to have it orchestrated, and Dory again found an orchestrator in New York.
Ryan Sherrar was our orchestrator, and we made sure that he had all the materials first, listened to the demo recording, read the play. I think he read it actually a couple of times, and he was excited to work with us. So through a grant from the Chapman Fund, we were able to retain his services. I went to New York and spent a whole day with him. The two of us gathered around the piano with the script and the score before us, talking about various ideas for sounds, for the types of character that each piece and that the play as a whole might have. as well. Piece, If I Only Had a Brother, which I wrote. I took 4 days off of my day job and did nothing but work on that piece, and I had a feel for what the show needed at that point in the show. In terms of the musical styles, we were short on more upbeat styles from the 50s, so it seemed like something in swing or jazz or boogie would make sense also. Plus it's an 11th hour piece, which means that it comes near the end of the show, so it definitely needed to be something that would capture people and not have them looking at their watches wondering when the show was going to be over.
And really getting to see the process with the costumes. So this is one of the first productions I've been in where they're starting to build costumes to supplement parts of the play, and it's been really neat to see kind of the beginning part and then adding the fabric and showing how they're making that.
When it comes to designing a period show like this, and we have a very large costume stock, I try to do a nice combination to stay within budget and things like that, and use our volunteer force most effectively. And by using our great vintage collection, we try and work with as much as we have that works with the characters and the storyline and our actors' body types. But then we're also supplementing by building a lot of the women's dresses too, which is really fun.
Philip has been wonderful sharing those with me. I saw drawings of the costumes. I was very impressed. I guess I didn't realize that we dressed that way in 1950, but I look and I say, oh my land, yes.
One of our ladies who volunteers with us looked at one of the wedding dresses that I have as research, and said her mother's wedding dress looked the exact same, you know? So that's really cool when we get to hear that we're trying to really evoke those memories in this time period, and a lot of people are connecting with it. For this show, because it is a period piece set in 1953, my research started with clothing from the period. So we're looking at old ads, old pattern pieces, primary images from that time period as the motivation for the characters in the show.
So I started out just reading the scripts, listening to the music. I used this as a marvelous opportunity to watch the Amazon Prime film, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, because that is set in a very similar time period. So it was nice to get in the frame of reference. It's been very fun to go back to some of my old favorites, like some Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn movies, just to get more into the idea of what ladies and culture was like back then.
Well, I think very much like the community that the characters are in has influenced it a lot, as well as like the time period. So it's set in a very wealthy community, and so everyone's very composed, they're very together, and they spend a lot of their time very put together and not like doing a whole lot of movement, which is good for that time period. It's very reserved. And then like in the tennis scene, they don't get too excited. They have to like hold back a little bit, because that's not good etiquette from the time.
Working with our choreographer, Olivia Rang, has been just an absolute joy. She always teaches us how to waltz, which is very nice.
The songs themselves definitely lead a lot of the movement throughout the whole piece.
It's always fun to see what live human beings come up with material that is on a page, or that's in your heart and it's on a page, and then it's handed over to someone else.
Getting to work with the cast themselves. I haven't done a show with a lot of these people, maybe one or two here and there, but I got introduced to a whole lot of new people that are extremely talented and very hardworking, and they have really influenced like how charming and sweet the show has been. So it's been a huge pleasure to get to work with this cast.
Basically seeing everybody and get the excitement going, because it is exciting whenever you get a first time the cast together, It creates a lot of energy and excitement. They're ready to get started.
Everybody has a really collaborative spirit, and it's been really interesting getting to work with the actual writer of the production, which is it's very new to me, and I've never had the pleasure of doing that. So to get notes from her and to have her own personal take on what the show should be is very informative.
And then it's just been asking a lot of questions. This is my only original role that I've ever played, so I don't have something that I can go back and look at as a frame of reference. And so it's been a lot of questions for the director, for the writer, and Eunice Wadowitz, our music director, and seeing how they would like this production to go forward, what they think the motivations of the character are, what I think the motivations of the characters are, and really just playing it out, having some fun, working through different scenarios with my fellow castmates and with our directors.
Why should you come and see The Wedding Gift? It's a wonderful night at the theater. It's an escape. It's a chance to laugh. It's a chance to have your heartstrings kind of tugged at by some of the human stories in the play. And it's new. If you're bored with life, come to our show. You will find that it will just put a smile on your face.
It's cute and sweet. It's so lighthearted, and it's really just a good time. And it's fun to come and see these two characters falling in and out of love, and all of the crazy antics that go on with it, and the little surprises along the way. But it's just, all in all, it's just very romantic.
I think that there's always that pull of, a good old romantic comedy. This is a throwback to the 1950s. So if you're a fan of the old musicals, if you're a fan of a good romantic comedy, a feel-good story, then this is definitely the place to be.
When we get to see everybody on stage together wearing the costumes, because we spend, depending on how early we start meeting, it could be a couple months working on a show. We do about 7 weeks really focusing on where we have the actors come in for fittings and things like that. But you only get to see so much during a fitting. They're not in front of the set, sitting on the furniture with the lights and interacting with each other. They don't have their hair and makeup done. So it's just all of the magic isn't there quite yet. You get a hint of it during a costume fitting. But when they all get on stage together and you see them dancing and singing and they're really becoming their characters, that's when the costumes really get to take on some life.